Hi everyone, my name's Dawn and welcome to What's the Stitch, a new weekly web series where I'll be answering all of your burning questions about sewing, cosplay, and costuming. Today I wanted to start at the beginning, go through some basic supplies that you're going to be needing for your projects. Of course, the first thing that you're going to want to have for any project is a needle and thread. Fairly self-explanatory, get all-purpose thread, and for the love of God, do not use metallic thread in machines, just don't. I personally prefer to use the Gutermann all-purpose thread that tends to work best for most of your projects, except if you're doing embroidery. The next thing that you're going to want to have in your little bag of sewing tricks is one of these little guys. This is a bobbin. It's a small little round thing, looks like a couple of buttons with a stick between them. This goes in the bottom of your sewing machine and provides the bottom layer of thread for your stitches. You want to make sure when you put it in that when you pull the thread, it turns the bobbin to the right. Otherwise, it's going to jam up your machine, and that's not going to be a lot of fun for you to deal with. I personally like to use, again, the Gutermann all-purpose thread for this. Also, really, again, do not use metallic thread. Another thing for me that is absolutely mandatory for my projects is a pen or a box of crayons. These are good for marking your fabric notches. Make sure that they're things that you can rub out or erase if used on fabric. There are certain kinds of pens that you can get where the ink fades after 24 hours. These are super handy. But if it's going to be something that is going to show, like, say, a Sharpie or a crayon, you're going to want to make sure that you keep those notches outside of your seam lines. Otherwise, they will show in your finished garment, and that's not something that you want. Another one of my go-to supplies is a roll of medical paper. I use this for tracing patterns so I can adjust them as necessary without damaging the original pattern. And if I wear out this particular piece that I've traced onto the tracing paper, I can just make another copy without damaging the original pattern. You can order these fairly cheaply on Amazon and they last quite a while. They usually come in about 40 or 50 meters, so they tend to last through a lot of projects. Now this is your seam ripper. This is your best friend. Buy several of them because guaranteed you will lose them often, and I promise you, you will need one at least once over the course of every project that you do. That's just something to accept right now. You're going to make mistakes. That's part of the learning experience, and when you do, this is what you need. A lot of you will recognize this little guy. This is a thimble. This is your best friend if you're going to be doing any hand sewing. Save your fingers the pain. I have learned the hard way that you can, in fact, cut yourself on the dull end of the needle. Had I been wearing one of these, that would not have happened. I would also recommend buying multiples of those because just like with your seam ripper, you are guaranteed to lose them when you need them. So at least if you have multiples of them, you can just pull another one out of your drawer. And of course, something that you're going to be needing on a regular basis, pins. These are necessary for any and all sewing projects. I like to get these ones with the little balls on the end because, frankly, I drop my pin box way more than I should actually admit, and it's a lot easier to find the ones with the balls on the end than the ones without that are just lurking in your carpet waiting to stab your foot if you step on it the wrong way. These little beauties are fabric scissors. You can get them in a whole bunch of different styles and sizes. You can even get ones called pinking shears that have a kind of jagged edge that keeps your fabric from fraying after you cut it, which are also very handy. These tend to be sharper than your regular paper scissors. For that reason, do not use them to actually cut paper. It's going to dull them and it's going to damage your scissors and they're going to wear out a lot faster than they really need to. Now onto some maintenance tools. You are going to want to maintain your sewing machine pretty regularly. I like to take mine for a tune-up every year or so, but depending on how often you're using your sewing machine and what fabrics you're using, you may need to do this a little bit more often. Bits of needles break off, pins bend, and depending on the fabric that you're using, bits of thread and fuzz get caught in there and gum up your machine, so you're going to want to take it to someone to take care of. Some of the maintenance you can do yourself. Most sewing machines come with a little key like this that helps you undo some of the screws to get into some of the inner workings that you can repair on your own. I also like to have a small sewing kit with little screwdrivers like this guy here, just if I need to get in there and try and clear out some of the fuzz and stuff and ungunk the machine. I'd also recommend getting a bag of pipe cleaners. They're great for clearing out lint and thread from your sewing machine, and most sewing machines do come with a little brush that lets you clean the inside, but it's not always flexible and doesn't always reach the small back corners in the bottom of your sewing machine. which is something that pipe cleaners are much more useful for getting to. Conversely, a small can of compressed air is really useful for blowing out all the little bits of fuzz that work your way into the machine. Another really vital supply for your sewing projects is going to be an iron. Now you might be saying, Dawn, what are you talking about? Why am I going to be ironing during my sewing project? And the fact is that, unfortunately, if that's not your favorite chore, it is something that you're going to have to be doing a lot. You're going to be pressing your fabric, trying to get it nice and smooth so it's not all warped when you cut off your pieces. You're going to want to press the seams open or together when you actually have everything sewn together to keep it from being bulky. You're going to be pressing your actual garment when it's finished so it looks nice when you wear it. It's just something that you're going to be doing a lot of, so investing in an iron would be very helpful. You can also invest in something called a tailor's ham. Basically, it's a stiff pillow about that big that is great for pressing curved seams and sleeves, which can be a bit of a hassle sometimes on a flat surface like a regular ironing board. Now onto some optional toys. This guy here is called a rotary cutter. I know it looks kind of like a pizza cutter, but please don't use it to actually do that. It has a blade that comes in and out like this, and it's great for cutting through multiple layers of fabric very quickly. I will say, be very careful with these. They are very sharp. It might be advisable to get, say, a finger guard like you might be using for cutting vegetables, and definitely do not use those to cut on a bare table. They will slice your table to ribbons. If you are going to be using a rotary cutter, I'd say invest in a cutting mat to protect your table. Otherwise, like I said, you're going to do permanent damage to it. And this thing, which looks like a pair of pliers on steroids, is the beautiful tool that I never knew I needed until I had one. This is a grommet punch. You use this for punching holes in fabric that you would put in grommet studs or, say, eyelets for corseting. This thing is amazing. It cuts through like 14 layers of fabric at once and is probably the best $40 I've ever spent in my life. Speaking as someone who once spent 2 days punching holes in about a dozen layers of fabric trying to do the corseted back of an Elizabethan gown, this would have saved me hours of time. So if you're doing something where you're going to be doing a lot of corseting or using a lot of grommets or those kind of embellishments, seriously invest in one of these. It will save you so much time and make your life a lot easier. Now, I know this looks like a lot, and I confess sewing can be a really expensive hobby, especially when you're starting out. Some of these supplies you can get at the dollar store, and that will save you a lot of money. And Walmart also does tend to carry them at a discount as well. Most of these things you will only need to buy once, and the things that you do tend to need to buy on a regular basis, like pins, you can get fairly inexpensively. All right, everyone, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this, please give me a like and subscribe. If you have any suggestions or comments or things that you might like to see in an upcoming video, please leave me a comment below and I'll be sure to answer any questions that you have. Thanks so much. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you all next week. Bye.